This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host, Lindsay, and I'm so grateful you're here today. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Gooder. If you are looking for some fashionable, functional, and affordable sunglasses, they don't slip around when you're out running or doing whatever you're doing, you gotta check out Gooder. They have some really fun, loud, wild colors and styles, and they also have some really classic styles. I love the aviator style personally. And I have a great discount code for you. You can save 15% when you go to gooder.com/another and use the code another15. That's another 15 for 15% off your order. All right, friends, today you're listening to episode 361, and my guest is Natalie Mitchell. I've been friends with Natalie for a few years now and had the opportunity to actually meet her in person at the Boston Marathon at a meetup we had. I can't believe that was 3 years ago. But Natalie lives in California. She is the mom of 3. She has a 3:05 marathon PR, which she ran at age 46. And she is excited to test her limits and see what she can do in the marathon still. She has a big goal of breaking 3 hours, which I am confident she will do. She also hosts the podcast Sweet Run with her husband, Jerold, which is a great show. I was actually on that show. Let's see, what episode was I? I was episode 31. That's when we still lived in Indianapolis, and we talked about my story with running, but also a little bit about living in Indianapolis. The cool thing about their podcast is they highlight where people on the show live, and they've had some really cool, unique guests on the show. Definitely go check it out. It's called Sweet Run. This was a really fun, casual catch-up. I'm enjoying doing some of these everyday runners who I'm friends with on the show, going back to that and mixing that in with professional runners and experts. We've got some really cool guests coming up on the show, including Steve Magnus. Really excited about that one. We already recorded it, and he was just like a dream guest. A great show that we'll have for you in just a few weeks. If you do love the podcast, leave us a quick rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening. That is a huge help in potential new listeners finding us. Okay, friends, I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Nat. Natalie!
Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. It's so funny. I always can take an extra 10 minutes because there's always something to do. And then it got to that point where I was like, oh, let me go run and get a glass of water. And I'm like, oh, shoot, it's 11:09.
No, I know. Well, you know what I like to do? And by the way, we're talking to Natalie Mitchell. Welcome to the show, Natalie. I'm rolling.
Woohoo! Lindsay, I'm so happy to be here. Let's do this.
Listen, at the beginning days, I would always just let the intro roll. And I'm like, sometimes we miss the best parts of the conversation because we don't hit record right away.
I know.
No, I had another interview at noon, and I was like, at 1, and I was like, this is going to wrap up by 2. That actually, sometimes I schedule them back to back like that to give myself the deadline.
Yeah.
But it was going good, and I was like, well, okay, let me see if she can do 10 minutes later. And that gave me a minute to like go pee and get a new drink, you know?
Oh, you got to have the drink. You got to pee, all the things. I'm so excited to catch up with you.
Yes, this is so long overdue. I'm so excited to have you on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I am honestly very honored to be here.
How's your day going? What's it looked like so far? It's pretty early in California still.
Yes, it's so funny. I feel like it's 11:15 or whatever. And when noon happens, I don't know if you feel the same way with kids, but I feel like at noon, I feel like the day's over because it's like downhill till pick up the kids, do all the sports, the music, the this, the that, the dinner, the homework, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I got to get it all done, my stuff before noon, it feels like.
Yeah, I'm 1. I pick up my first 2 at 1, and it's like, and then I try to save like picking up the house or doing anything like that for once they get home because I'm like, well, I don't want to spend my kid free time doing that. I got to get all the work stuff done. And I'm not going to lie, I did go to Target while they were at school today too.
You got to go to Target. Did you buy one thing or did you end up buying $200?
I think that my bill was 158. It was a lot of groceries though. It was groceries, some Valentine goodies, and like some cleaning supplies. It was I walked into the store and I said, do not dare walk over to that leisure like pajama and workout clothes aisle, because I've had my eye on this one sweatshirt for like 3 months now, and I was like, don't even walk over there. And I'm proud to say I didn't walk over there.
Good for you, because that happens to me. I mean, I think there was like I don't know, it's like a Twitter thread or something happening, and people were like, what is up? Like, is there some sort of like chemical in the air? Do they like drug us when we go into Target? Because I'm like, I'm going to go in and get like Clorox and like soap. And I come out with like underwear for the girls and like socks for me or whatever. I'm just like, what is going on?
I'm always looking for a new planter. Like, I'm obsessed with buying plants right now. So if I'm at Costco, I'm like, oh, there's a new snake plant. I need it in this corner of this room. So then I'm at Target always looking for a new planter. And they're like $40-$50, you know?
I know. It's crazy. All the kids and all the stuff. I can't believe you have 4. I remember when we first met in person in Boston, you were pregnant with Sandy.
I was pregnant with Sandy. I remember that. That meetup was so fun.
It was so fun.
There were so many
people there. And now look how big he is.
I know. He's 3.5. It's that doesn't seem real to me that was that long ago, that meetup.
I know.
What are you running, Boston? What are you training for? I saw you just ran like 19 miles.
Yes. I'm trying to get back. I'm working on fitness. I'm going to figure out races. I'm going to do a half at the end of the month. I'm going to do some 5Ks and 10Ks. We all got COVID right after New Year's.
Okay.
And it was just like, I don't even have the words. Like, I felt like I had been hit by a semi truck. And I just was like trying to take care of everybody and trying to like heal, and just, it was like, I didn't run for a while, obviously. And then suddenly, the cloud lifted and we all got better, and, trying to, get back on the train again. So
it's so hard. Like, I always tell my boys, I mean, not COVID related necessarily, but just sickness in general. I'm like, dudes, do you not realize the reason I don't want you to drink out of my water is because if I get what you have, if you end up being sick, I can't take care of you if I'm sick too. Don't drink after me.
I know. And it's like they come home with all sorts of germs
things
and all sorts of stuff. And luckily I was saying to Jerold, I'm like, he had it too. And he just had this really bad fatigue and all this stuff. But I'm like, can you go get me whatever? Because I don't want to leave my bed.
Yeah.
It was just like crazy, but anyway.
Did your kids do okay though? Did they handle it okay? Like, are they all good?
They're all good. Just, one kid got it really bad, and it was just like I was up, and just trying to comfort and help, and then my youngest daughter had it, but had no symptoms at all. It was like doing cartwheels, going, I'm bored. Can we like go do something? And I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh, that's hard to get back into the swing of things though. I loved what you said though about that run that you were trying to do marathon pace at. Like, when you said you got to like 2 miles in and you just felt like you wanted to stop, and how you like talked yourself into getting through the 7 miles at marathon pace. That is such a good strategy. Tell everybody what you did.
Okay, so I had this like pretty monster workout. It was 19 miles. So it started out with 2 mile, like just like over 2 mile warm up. And then had to go into the 7 miles at marathon pace. And I felt like in my mind at the beginning of it, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Oh my gosh, Lindsay, I get to like 1.75. I looked down at my watch and I was like, I am dying right now. Like, this is so hard. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about how hard running can be sometimes, and how hard like trying to hit specific paces, and like, sometimes when you're in a race or a workout. So anyway, I really wanted to stop. I was like, I'm done. And I'm like, you know what, if you stop, you're going to be so mad at yourself, and then you're going to probably try to start up again, and you're going to be like having all these thoughts of like, why didn't you stop? You should have been stronger. Like all of these, thoughts that probably wouldn't be super positive. And so I was like, all right, you know what? Who says that I have to run this exact pace right now? Why don't I just like slow down instead of stop, right? So, and sometimes when you're in the moment, you don't think that, because us type A runners, we want to do what we set out to do. So anyway, I slowed down and it felt so much better. Like that's what my body needed at that moment. And then I did that for a little bit and I was like, okay, I feel better now. I feel like I've like gathered myself. And then I picked up the pace again and kept going. And then it wasn't like, lollipops and daisies after that. I still, after maybe a mile, I was like, I don't really feel like doing this pace anymore. So then I slowed down. So I kind of did that, but I did finish strong. I finished the 7 miles strong at the end and I feel good about myself. I was like, you know what? This is what I would need to do in a race situation.
Yeah.
Just like take a breath, slow down the pace, regroup, and then start up again. So it was good.
I love that so much. And it does work. I don't know. I always get ahead of myself at like mile 2 of the tempo. If I'm like feeling okay, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, Lindsay, you got to calm down a little bit because you got to keep hitting this at like mile 5. Do you think you can sustain this in 3 more miles? Of course you feel good at mile 2. And that's on a different day. Like you weren't feeling it at mile 2 on this day, but some days that's what I struggle with most is like getting too aggressive too early.
Yeah, sometimes your body just needs a little bit of time to warm up a little bit. Sometimes that could be like 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah.
To warm up a little bit.
The older I get, the longer that warm up needs to be.
Exactly. And like it depends on the day. It depends on so many factors. So you just gotta listen to your body.
Okay, let's talk about your like history with running a little bit. How many marathons have you run?
12.
Okay. And your PR's 3:05.
Yes.
What was the situation with mom life? What year did you run your first marathon?
So my first marathon, I did not have kids.
Okay.
So it was like a totally different scenario than what I go through now. I didn't have kids. It was kind of like one of those bucket list items that so many runners talk about. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to do a marathon and I'm just going to try this out. And I ran the LA Marathon because it was a local race, my home race. And, didn't train that well, didn't know what I was doing, kind of just like taped it together and paid the price, the later miles. I was like, oh, this is why people talk about training for a marathon. And this is why people get so obsessed about the details. Oh, I get it. So finished it. And then kind of went home and thought about it. And I was like, oh, I want to try that again. And like, let's be smarter about it. Let's do it better. And so then that's how the whole journey started. And 12 marathons. Well, I guess that's one. So 11 marathons later, here we are.
Were you in a relationship with Jerold, your husband, yet?
Oh my gosh. Let me think about that. Yes.
Okay.
We've been together for so long. It's like, when was I not like with him?
What year did you get married? How long have you guys been married?
20 years.
You're at 20. Did you just celebrate that?
We did.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It does not seem real. We celebrated 20 years in July.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's just been, it kind of, in some ways it feels like we've been together for a long time. Then others, it's like, in other ways, it feels like it's flown by and like we've just obviously had a half of a lifetime to do all these things and kids and all of that. But it's been great.
What did you guys do for 20? Did you go out to dinner? Or were you dealing with COVID?
No. So it was in the summer and we did go out to dinner, but we did not have, and we'll have to like make up for this later, but we did not have the traditional like, oh my gosh, we're either going to go on a trip together, go on a weekend away together, go out for like, we did go for a special dinner, but we were in Flagstaff at a running camp with the kids.
Aww.
And it was like, I didn't want to miss it. And he was like, oh, let's go. It'll be fun. And we had a great time. It was awesome. And so for our anniversary, we went out for dinner that night. Went for a run in the morning and like hung out with people and then went for a really nice dinner. So for us, like, it was perfect.
So was the camp like a kids camp and all 3 of your kids were a part of it?
No, it was Run Free Trainings Camp, Brian
Hall. Okay.
Yeah. So we went to that and it was, I think the person that took advantage of the most, other than me and Jerold, was Josh, our son, because he's high school, he was going into high school. And then the girls just kind of, but they made it so family friendly. Like there were other like little kids there, and like our girls got to hang out. So it was good. It was very family friendly.
I didn't even know that they had a camp. That sounds really fun.
It was the first one. It was their first annual one. And well, now it's going to be annual. They're doing another one, but it was the first one that they had. And it was so fun. We went to Sedona and had a great time and went on a trail run. We went to the Grand Canyon, and the kids really loved that. We hiked pretty far down and got to see some parts that we hadn't seen in the past. And yeah, it was really fun.
What is the trip that you did with your family? I feel like you were like in Utah or something, and you went camping by like a waterfall.
We were in Idaho.
Idaho.
I highly recommend this trip. It was so fun. So we were in the middle of COVID. We were like, everyone was at home, and LA was, very strict. So it was like some other cities and states were like, oh, our kids are back in school. We're like, no, our kids are not in school. We're in the middle of summer. Everything is closed. For a while, even our beaches and trails were closed, which was crazy. We were like,
looking back, it's like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, we've got to get out of this house and do something. So we're like, let's go on, like a road trip. Let's rent an RV and go somewhere. And Idaho was the perfect place. It was like not too far, but like far enough that we got to take advantage of being in the RV, which they loved. They were like, can we buy this RV?
Oh, so you rented it.
We have nowhere to park this car.
Yeah.
So we rented the RV and drove to Idaho, and we were in Sun Valley, and it was so beautiful. Just so much nature, and we camped by this waterfall, this like campground, which was pretty remote and not populated with people at all. So we kind of had a lot of it to ourselves. We just hiked and ran and ate a ton and fished, which the kids loved that. Oh my gosh, you have to do this trip. Your kids would love it. It's like dirt and worms, and just everybody was just dirty all the time. And like,
and you shower in the RV?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the town again though?
Sun Valley.
Okay. Sun Valley. I am writing that down because I specifically remember when you did that, and I was like, that looks so cool.
It was so cool. I mean, honestly, like that's what kids need.
Yeah.
And we needed it too, just to be outside, like seriously from like sun up to like, and the beautiful thing about Sun Valley in the summer, it was in July. We would like, the kids would be fishing. We were like sitting, drinking a beer by the little creek. It was like 10 p.m. The sun was still out.
Oh, wow.
Basically. I mean, it was like setting at that point. And it was like, we're never going home. We were like, can we move here? Like, we could just buy that piece of land that we saw. It was really cool.
Hey, everybody, a quick break here. I'm really excited that Lily Trotters is coming back to the podcast for 2022. This is the longest running sponsor of the show, and I'm really grateful for their support. I also really love their compression socks. They have a wide range of compression socks to help encourage recovery for your legs, reduce muscle fatigue, whether you're running, doing a HIIT workout, going to the gym, or walking. If you are pregnant, compression socks are super great to help with circulation. If you're traveling, they're super great. And they have the cutest styles. They fit into any shoe that you wear. This is a great gift idea for the runner in your life as well at an affordable price. You all can go to lilytrotters.com and use the code IHA for 20% off. Now that's a new code for 2022. So the new code is IHA, and you'll get 20% off your order. And when you support sponsors of this podcast, you are directly supporting this show. That lets sponsors know that you're listening and you care. And also, you will get an amazing product that feels so good on your legs after a big workout. That's lilytrotters.com. Use the code IHA for 20% off your order. All right, back to the show. Okay, so let's go back to running a little bit. Tell us how you got to the 305 marathon. Did you do that in 2019? Right before the pandemic?
Yeah, it was actually almost exactly 3 years ago.
Okay.
It was February 2019. And yeah, no, I just
Thank God that race was in February and not March. You might have been canceled.
I know. Well, actually, it
Oh, it
was a
was
year.
2019. Okay, so you had okay, yeah. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So it was like a full year before, but and gosh, it's so funny looking back. Like you would never think that the world would be so different. But yeah, no, I had a really good. I had been building on some good training blocks. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I mean, I think you build it over time, and I felt like I was in good shape, and then in addition to that, had a good training block specifically for that marathon, and just went in feeling really confident and excited about it. And I felt like I could break 3 hours for sure. That was what I was going for. And that's the interesting thing about the marathon. You just never know what's going to happen. And you have to just like be ready for anything and ready to embrace it and fight through it. And, I had super like intense GI issues like the last 4 or 5 miles. And I just fought so hard to get through that. And it was super hard mentally because I was like, I just see my race literally going
Oh,
down the
so
drain right
hard.
now. And there's nothing I can do but keep moving forward and
Mm-hmm.
trying to finish the way that I can. And like, just like that workout I was telling you about was definitely a little more severe than that. But anyway, yeah, and I finished and it's so hard because like you don't want to feel like I honestly believe every marathon that you do is a gift. It's just like for us to be able to move our bodies and run for that long, it really is a gift. So in that sense, I was like, wow, I'm really happy that I did this. And I ran a PR. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Nat. Like, that's a big deal. And of course, you feel disappointed because you didn't run as fast as you would have liked. But then you get to try it all over again. So it was a good day.
Yeah. What were you going from? Was it 311 or 313?
Yeah, I was going from 311.
Okay.
Yeah, I had run 311.
Okay, so yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I feel like Sarah Hall at the Marathon Project when like she ran a big PR, but she was going for the American record and she was happy, but she was also you could tell disappointed, and it's like managing both of those things. Like you want to celebrate, but also like it's okay to acknowledge that you're disappointed because you worked really hard for something that you thought you could do.
Yeah, totally. I think that's okay to do that. And I think it's okay because I think that shows that you really care. And like we put so much into our training and just, we love this sport, and you get excited and you put a lot into it and you hope to get what you set out to do. And you go through that mourning period and then you're like, okay, wait, I ran a PR, I'm healthy, and I get to do this all over again. So it's all good.
Tell me about like you ran that first marathon before you had kids. Tell me about like when your kids were really little, what was running for you, and then when did you like start getting serious about your training? Because your kids are what now?
My kids are 14, 11, and 9.
Okay.
So when Josh was born, there was no Instagram and all
Yeah.
of that. You know what I mean? And I honestly thank God for that. I did not have any pressure at all on like, oh my gosh, how fast should I get back into shape? Should I be running a race like 6 months after I have him or 4 months or whatever? Or, I wasn't looking at other people and like comparing myself. I was just kind of like in this like space of just me taking care of this baby. And I think I've talked about this before, but like I had super hard pregnancies, all three of my kids. So I had severe preeclampsia with all
That's so
three.
scary.
It was so scary. And so I had not the traditional pregnancy anyway. So it was kind of like, okay, we got pregnant with Josh. And I was like, this is going to be so great. Like, I'm going to run the majority of my pregnancy. And like, I'm going to like walk to the hospital. And like, we're going to do all these things. And like, so with him, I was able to do one race like very early in the pregnancy. And then like shortly after that, around like between 17 and 20 weeks is when I developed preeclampsia. And they were like, you gotta like chill. And so I didn't know very much about the disease and all of that, at the time. And so that just put everything on the back burner for me and made me realize what's really important is like having this baby be healthy and like keeping this baby in my stomach for as long as I can. And so I just was like, okay, well, running will be there when the time is right. And so then ended up going on bed rest with him and just being super inactive, obviously, like literally like laying on one side, not being able to move for a long time. And then ultimately having him like 4.5 to 5 weeks early. And so, it was a whole different scenario than I ever imagined. I mean, I just looked like I was so bloated and I had just gained so much weight from inactivity and just water weight gain. And like, I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, I don't even know who this person is, but I'm so proud that I developed, that I delivered this baby and like, let's just move forward. And, then I just really gave myself time to heal and just space. And I remember that I signed up for a marathon. I signed up for CIM. So he was born in March.
Okay.
And I signed up for CIM in December. And I was like, oh, that'll be plenty of time. That'll be my first marathon postpartum. I just thought, oh, you're going to do this. And by September, I was like, there's no way this is happening. Like, I'm just not ready. And I just don't even want to think about that. And so I just didn't do it and just kept, I don't know, putting him in the stroller. And like, I did fun things. Like I joined stroller strides, which we had in LA, in Santa Monica, and met friends and like just ran when I felt like it. And like, there was no pressure at all. And then let's see, we got pregnant again. We had a miscarriage, and then we had Megan. And same thing, my doctor was like, well, let's just maybe not run because you have such a history with, your pregnancies. And sure enough, developed preeclampsia. Was on bed rest with her, with a toddler at home, like all these things.
I cannot imagine being on bed rest with a toddler at home.
It was like, honestly, sometimes I think in life we're so stronger than we think. Cause like you look back and you're like, how did I really survive that? Do you know?
I mean, I think about that all the time from my life just 3 years ago. People look at me and they're like, you're in it hard. And I'm like, oh no, I was in it hard. And I mean, obviously it's still challenging, but not having any babies anymore, that's a whole new chapter. It's a different thing. It's
just crazy, like, what moms can do and how strong we are. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I was on bed rest with her, with toddler running around, people helping, just like friends and neighbors and people just literally, like, I remember my girlfriend, like, just would like come, and she had 4 kids. And so she came over and brought me a meal, and like her kids were like running around with my kid. And she was sitting with me. She brought me books to read. It was just really a sweet time in that sense, like a sense of community and friendship and all of that.
Be that person. Like that's amazing.
I'll never forget that. She's a runner too, so she totally understood. And so then had Megan, and I remember kind of feeling the itch, like when she was maybe a year old, that I was like, okay, I feel like it's been a long time since I've done really any running. I'm kind of ready. So I started running with like groups, and like there was like a local running store like near our house. And so I remember leaving Jerold with the babies, being like, I'm going to like hang out with these people. I need to get back with my people. And so that was fun. I remember doing like a couple races, but it was like nothing. I didn't train for them. It wasn't anything intense. It was like, let's just run a little bit and do a race. And so that was fun. And then Jerold was kind of like, okay, we done. We have a boy and a girl. And I was like, I don't feel done.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? And I'm like, now I say that because he's the person when we met that was like, I want like 4 or 5 kids. And I'm like, what? And so now it's funny because it was like me going, I don't think I'm done. And so then we were able to have Elle. It took a long time. We didn't think she was going to happen. So I could really call her my little angel baby. And so we had Elle, which was the sweetest thing and such a gift. And she was that was kind of like the most traumatic pregnancy. So we'd gone in and talked to my doctor, and he was like, I give you my blessing that you can try to have this third baby, but I'm not going to guarantee that like it's not going to be more bed rest. And if you guys are up for all of the things that could possibly happen, but he's like, you're healthy and strong, and we can get through this, but like, let's just approach it cautiously. So we got pregnant with her, and I was like, I'm not running at all. Sure enough, was on bed rest with her, and then had 2 kids at home and all this stuff. And then we had her 7 weeks early, and she was only 3 pounds, 9 ounces. So it was very, and it was a very like emergency C-section, like crazy delivery. But, you know, she was healthy, and they all stayed in the NICU.
All of them.
Just all of them. Like at the end, when we had Elle, like I intimately knew the NICU nurses. Yeah. Like they were like hugging me.
Oh,
like,
you're back.
We're back. We're going to take care of your baby. Like, don't worry.
Oh,
it was so hard. It really was hard.
I can't imagine.
No, there was no traditional, like have the baby, stay in the hospital for a day or 2 and go home. It was like, have the baby, have them traumatically take the baby, like make sure the baby is breathing and that they're like getting their weight. And then like they would finally release me. And then I was like going back and forth to the hospital to see the baby all the time, you know, all throughout the day, and like taking care of the kids and like pumping milk. And so there was no time for running. I was like, what is that? But anyway, so then when Elle was like 18 months old, I really did kind of feel like I had been running, I had been training before that, maybe when she was maybe, I don't know, 14 or 15 months old. I was like, I want to just try a race and see how it goes. I just feel like I need that normalcy back. We're not having any more kids. So then I ran a marathon when she was 18 months old.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so that seems like that seems healthy. I mean, not jumping the gun or anything like that.
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, it was kind of like, I felt super proud, like when I crossed, it was my first marathon post kids, and I crossed that finish line, and I looked at these babies sitting there looking at me, and I was like, wow, you know, we did this. We all did it together. It wasn't just me, you know, and it was pretty cool.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so do you remember what you ran that marathon in?
Heck yeah. 3:32.
Oh, so it was fast. You trained for it.
I trained for it. I mean, I didn't like go crazy training for it because I just didn't have the time, but I was like, I didn't have a coach or anything. I just got a program, and I was like, I'm going to train for it, you know, and see what happens. And I didn't know, you know, what to expect.
Got yourself a BQ.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Have you worked with coaches over the years since then to get down to 305? And who have you worked with, if so?
Yes, I've had 2 coaches. I had my first coach, Mark Hadley.
I remember when he was like blowing up. That was like back in the day, like before, like right when Instagram started, and like I was on Twitter, and I feel like it was like I have all these people like Laura Anderson who are like my Twitter OGs that we were just like, you know, in the running community, and then Instagram starts. But that's when Mark Hadley was like really blowing up.
He was really blowing up, and his daughter, Alana, was, you know, big into with her running career, and just, he had a ton of, I mean, he still does have a ton of athletes. He's a great coach. So he became my friend and my coach. And he coached me for over 4 years.
Okay. It
was my first coach since college. And I just remember, like, you know, I had that first one after I had all the kids, and then I did maybe a couple more, and then I was like, oh, you know, I kind of feel like maybe I should really see what I can do, and like maybe there's something else than just a plan off of runnersworld.com or whatever. And I had, you know, gotten on social media, and like you hear about things, and I had heard about him, and so I reached out, and so, yeah, so we started working together, and then we were just like chipping away. So, you know, I just did the whole progression, like first one back with 3:32, which was on my own, hired him. And then I think it was like 3:26, 3:23, you know, like 3:18. It literally was like a walk down, like 3, it might have been 318 to 311.
That's a big gap.
And then the 305. So, and then there was like a knee surgery in there as well, which kind of derailed things a little bit, but yeah, it was good. So I had Mark, and then I remember this so well. I remember running the Boston Marathon. I had taken all the kids with me, which I know people say is crazy, but we did it.
Hey, I'm all for a family trip.
It was so fun. We took them twice, actually, and I don't regret it at all. They loved it. Anyway, so I had run the Boston Marathon 2017. I was sitting in my backyard, talking to Mark, like doing like a post-race analysis, and I had this little like fire in my belly, and I was like, I really want to see what I can do in the marathon. I know it's going to take a long time, and whatever, but I just kind of I'm kind of in, like, let's see what we can do. And so that was kind of where it started, as far as like really being a little more serious. And what happened after that? We just kept training and chipping away, and I just, of course, I really wanted to break 3 hours and hadn't done that yet. And then, yeah, Mark, we worked together for 4.5 years, and then I just made a change. Sometimes change is good. You kind of see what else is there and have the utmost respect for him, and still check in with him and say, hey, how's it going? And then I started working with Ryan Hall. And so
okay.
Which was pretty funny. I mean, it was really a cool way that we met. He had just pretty much started Run Free Training, and I'd heard about them starting this company, this coaching company, and I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. So I jumped on the phone with him and Jay Stevenson, they started the company together, and we had a great conversation. And so he was like, I know how busy he is, right? He's got so much going on. But he was like, I'm going to train you. I want to coach you for this particular training block it was like a handful of months. And my jaw kind of dropped, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is pretty incredible. Like, I'm just going to soak all this in. And so it was a really great experience. I mean, he was just like such a great coach, so energetic. He has so much knowledge. I mean, come on. He's like the fastest, half marathoner that we have in the U.S. and has so much experience. So I just like gleaned off of all of that he was giving me. I was just like, I am your student. I want to learn everything. And so that was really incredible to just be able to learn from him and talk to him. So that was like 3 or 4 months. And then I ended up, so yeah, I've had 3 coaches. So, and then I went from Ryan to my current coach, who's at Run Free Training, who is Jerold Carson.
Okay.
And he's been my coach for the last 2 years, and we are having so much fun. He is so cool, such a great coach, has his own impressive running resume. He's qualified for the Olympic trials, and yeah, he just gets me, like, and like he challenges me. He doesn't, I feel like he's like, you're capable of whatever it is that you want to do. So let's do this. And he's just very like supportive and encouraging and like tough when he needs to be. So it's a really good fit for me.
How do you like stay motivated though? 'Cause I guess after you ran your 305 and then, a year later, there weren't really any races for a while and things like that. But like, did you take a little bit of a break after that 305? I am having a really hard time getting motivated to want to run hard. And I want to, again, like hearing you talk about the 305, even though it was a disappointment, it was a PR and, all these things. I'm like, I want to feel all those emotions again, but like, I cannot get myself motivated to want to put the work in.
Yeah. But your kids are still like young, Lindsay, like you're going to get I mean, I think if you want to do it, like, just give yourself time and like in the mental space to like get through all the things that you're doing with your kids. And like, then the light bulb will come on when the time is right. And you'll be like, okay, now is the time. But like, yeah, so I ran the 305. It was like in February. And I remember just like really wanting to recover well and just mentally recover from the effort. And then I was like, okay, like, there's so much left in the tank.
Yeah.
I have so much left to untap. So let's use this as a benchmark and springboard off of all of this training and like just let's propel forward. So that's what I did. What I've learned from that point, which was 3 years ago to now, is that I really needed to work on being fast. Like, yes, you have to do the marathon specific work and all of that, but I'm like, how fast can I run? And I realize I'm like, I'm not that fast.
Like if you go to a 5K?
Yeah, those are tough for me, and 10Ks and that. And so we kind of like, eventually I got to the point where I kind of needed to like deconstruct everything that I thought that I was doing that was, it was all good, but I needed to look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
And Jerold and I, I love that because I can bounce so many things off of him. And he's like, you need to like get strong. Like you need to work on like running a fast 200. You need to work on like lifting, your lower body more and just developing some different, because like maybe you're just like at a point where you're just like plateauing.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. So that's, what I really started. And that's what Jared and I have been. It's funny because it's so funny when I'm texting because I'm like, am I texting my husband Jerold or like Jared, my coach?
Oh, Jared, your coach. Better double check that.
J. But with Jared, my coach, that's what we've really been working on. Just getting strong, like really working on the core, like, and for the first time, like in this last little like, year or two, like really hitting the cross training hard. That harder, like I hadn't really done that much cross training before, like within the running and all that, the training. So yeah, I think those things are going to make a big difference in the lifting and all of that.
Hey friends, one more quick break here to thank Koala Clip for supporting this episode of the podcast. Koala Clip is the best way to carry your phone on the run. Seriously, I have been running with the Koala Clip on pretty much every single run and race I do for maybe 3 years now. It's been a while. It is so easy. You just put your phone in there. You can also put a key or your ID or a couple dollars, whatever you need. You can put that in your Koala Clip and take it on the go with you. I just tuck it into my Razorback sports bra, which, by the way, the new sports bras that Koala Clip have, that's my new favorite sports bra. It's like the perfect amount of padding, not too much. Very supportive, very comfortable. This material is amazing. And they also have leggings and apparel as well, like really cute sweatshirts and t-shirts and tank tops. I actually got my sister one of the sweatshirts for Christmas and a new Koala Clip because every time she comes over here, she's like, hey, can I borrow one of your Koala Clips when she goes to run? So I told her she needs a backup. You all can save 10% on anything at Koala Clip when you go to koalaclip.com and use the code ANOTHER10. That'll get you 10% off your order. And you are supporting a woman-owned small business when you do that. Christina, the founder, she's incredible. She had this dream. She made it happen. And this is her small business. I love supporting small businesses. That's koalaclip.com. Use the code ANOTHER10 for 10% off your order. All right, back to the show. So right now you're focused on like shorter stuff, getting stronger, all that.
Yeah, I mean, all of that to lead to the marathon. And like a marathon's going to happen. It's going to happen like
in the fall probably or
later.
in the spring.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I think when you start, doing 18 and 19 mile runs, you're like, okay,
I'm fit for it. Like I could go do it right now if I needed to.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been fun to just kind of like, work toward that with the shorter stuff and it'll be interesting to see how that all adds up and what it pans out to be. So I'm excited about it.
Okay, so we have to talk a little bit about coaching. What does that look like for you? Like you're coaching your son's team, right?
Yes. So I coached their cross country team this fall, which was really, really, not only was it fun, it was an invaluable experience. Like I just learned so much. I had been coaching middle school before that. And so when you get to high school, it's a totally different world. Because you've got kids, that are 14, you've got kids that are 17 and all in between. And so, I learned a lot as a coach. It was so rewarding working with these kids through highs and lows and ups and downs of races. And yeah, I was like, this is good. And I would run with them on their easy days and, hanging out with these boys, which they were just like, I love that they embraced me and they're like, all right, well, they call me Coach Mitchell.
Oh.
So it was fun. Yeah.
Are you going to do it again?
I would love to do it again.
Okay.
I would love to do it again. I was talking to a woman that I went to school with that was on our show who's a coach. And I kind of feel the same way that she does, because she was saying, I don't want to, since I am a coach and I am a runner and I'm coaching my son's team, like if any way possible, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to be able to follow him and coach him through his high school career. And that's how I feel about with Josh. So I'm like, if that's in the cards, like I want to do that.
Do the girls run too?
So Megan, not so much. So Megan's my 11-year-old. She's more like beach volleyball, soccer, type of girl. And she knows she has to run to be good in soccer, but she kind of doesn't like it right now. Elle is my runner girl. She does like to run. I feel like lately in the last couple of months, she hasn't run that much with me, but like once she gets like into it, she's like, can I come with you? Can I come with you? So she likes to run with me.
How far will she go with you? I can't get my kids to even run a mile with me.
She'll go like 2 miles.
Okay, 2 miles. I could maybe get my 9-year-old to do 2 miles. Maybe. There'd be a lot of complaining.
Is that Marshall?
Yeah.
So he and Elle are the same age.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about right. 2 miles and then they're kind of done.
Yeah.
Like after that. And then I don't know, it'll be interesting to see as she gets a little older, because I can see her. She just has such a natural gait and stride about, like, she just looks like she's super comfortable running. So I'm like, I didn't look that comfortable when I was 9. So we'll see.
Okay, let's talk about Sweet Run podcast and why you guys started it, how it's going, what are your feelings, all the things.
Man, oh my gosh, Lindsay, like podcaster to now, me being a newbie podcaster to a veteran podcaster. Yeah, it has really been a journey, like in the best way. I'm so glad that we did this. I think when you, as an entrepreneur, when you start any kind of business, it is so hard, right? It's easy to sit there and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. And then to actually put the pen to the paper and then execute from there can be tough. So we went through our aches and pains with Sweet Run in the beginning. We loved the idea, and just making it work and putting it all together was tough. And I love to say that because I don't want to sugarcoat, and be like, oh yeah, like we just like started this business and it was so great. No, it wasn't. So anyway, then the pandemic happened and everything was put on hold, and we were kind of like, I had a second knee surgery and we were kind of sitting there going, okay, I've always wanted to start a podcast, but I just didn't know what I really wanted to like focus on, or like what I could bring to the table of what was already out there. And I had been thinking about it. And then Jerold was like, why don't we do Sweet Run as a podcast? Like, there's your idea right there. Like, let's develop it into a podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's a great idea. And this is the perfect time because I'm not running. We need to do something. We're stuck in the house, and this is the perfect time to start this venture. So yeah, started it first episode November of 2020, and that was the start of it. It's been a great journey. Like, we have met so many incredible people that you probably wouldn't talk to for an hour, and gotten to know them and where they live, of course. And we love to travel. So it's like the perfect combination with the running and travel. We're really having fun.
I think that is probably one of the greatest gifts that I feel like I've gotten out of podcasting is the long form conversations with people that you just wouldn't have otherwise, because it just wouldn't pop up anywhere else. And I think that those connections, those like deep human connections with the conversations, like in my day-to-day life, I just wouldn't get that with so many different people. And you learn so much from them too. It really is a gift.
Yeah, it really is. And like, I mean, you think about like, I mean, some of the people that we've been able to talk to who are at the top of their field, and you know how this is, like they're at the top of their game and like they agree to talk, to spend their precious time talking with you. And you're just like, man, this is such a gift. Like I wouldn't have known this about this person or had this interaction with them. And like, I've kind of, admired your work in the sport from afar. And now to sit and talk with you is really, it's a gift.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Okay. So we're going to look for you to do a spring or a fall marathon.
Yes.
And can you tell everybody how old you were when you ran the 305?
Yes. 46.
And you're going after 3 hours, aren't you?
Oh, I really want to break 3 hours and then go. Once we do that, then we're going to go beyond that.
And you're 49.
I am. Oh my gosh.
That's incredible. I mean, I need to hear that. You know how you said to me, like, just give yourself some time. I guess I get scared that like once I get there, like, so say for instance, once my youngest is in kindergarten, which would probably be a fairly ideal time for me to like say, okay, now I'm going to train for something serious, that I like just won't have the desire anymore. And then I'll just like hang it up forever. Not working out, not running. I'm always going to do that as long as I can. But like, I'm just worried if I wait too long, that desire will just be totally gone.
I mean, I think you're doing the right thing. Like you're running, you're getting good miles in, you're doing it on your terms. I see your garage gym, you're lifting and all those things. So you're staying strong. So that's the important thing. You're keeping the base. And then the mental part of it or the desire, yeah, I mean, ultimately it's up to you. Like you obviously have to want to do that because it takes a lot. You're putting in a lot. And if you end up not wanting to, that's totally fine. And if you do, then I think you should definitely go for it and like don't let anything hold you back. And we live in a world where there's such an emphasis put on age and what we can do or what we can't do and like all of these things. And like look, I'm not saying like age doesn't affect you at all. I mean, I'm not trying to go to the Olympics. You know what I mean? I mean, that's not going to happen. That was never going to happen anyway, even at 25. I'm just not that talented. But there's so much that you can do. I just had an interesting conversation with a 78-year-old man who I had met at a dinner party a couple years ago, and he ended up calling me because he wants to talk to me about coaching.
Aww.
And he was like, look, Natalie, he's incredible. He's incredible. I'm going to have him come on the podcast. Anyway.
That's awesome.
He's like, look, I'm 78 years old and I still have so much I want to do. He was like, I want to run fast on the track. He's like, I don't think my marathon time is like where I want it to be. He's saying this to me. And I was just like, I did not have anything to say. My jaw was just dropped and I was just listening and taking in his wisdom. And I'm like, do you really want to look back and be I'm saying this to myself and be 78 and say to myself, oh my gosh, at 48, 49 years old, you were so young and capable and healthy. But that being said, I mean, I feel so good.
That's amazing.
I really do. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and like, hobble out of bed and be like, oh my God, I mean, yes, sometimes you're like, I don't feel like getting up because I didn't get enough sleep or whatever. But I mean, I feel so good and like I feel stronger than I probably ever have.
That's so cool.
So I'm just going to go with it.
I love that. What do you think is attributed to that though? Are you like, do you pay really close attention to what you eat and put into your body and things like that?
I do, but from an athlete's perspective, not an age perspective. Yeah. Like, I know that, like, well, we've always really liked to cook. Like, Jerold loves to cook. I love to cook. And we enjoy eating at home more than we do eating out. So we've always been that way. And so I love coming up with new recipes and ideas for us and the kids. And I know it's going to fuel me well for training. So, yeah, in that sense, I think about what I eat, but I don't, like, overthink it. And, it's interesting. So I have to go back to this story really quick because it's an
Yeah,
age thing too.
do it.
So I told you I had Elle, my youngest, and I had to go on bed rest. Well, I was turning 40.
Oh, you were when you
I
had
was turning,
Elle.
yeah, I was 39 when we got pregnant and I was turning 40.
Okay.
And so Jerold had like planned this 40th birthday party for me. And we had to cancel it because I had to go on bed rest and I was like feeling really stressed out. And I was like, I just can't do this. Like, just cancel it. And I say that to say, and like, it's funny because I had some people go, kind of say like, oh, was it an oops pregnancy because you're 40? And I was like, no, we totally planned this. And I say that to say like, and everybody's path looks different and everybody has, different ideas about age and what they want to do or whatever. But like, if you're open to the possibility that anything is possible in life, it's like I had this beautiful little 9-year-old girl and like she gets to see me like be an athlete and like work really hard toward these goals. And she's like, Mommy, you're like the best runner in the whole world. Like, she has, it's so cute. But it's so neat to like be a role model in that sense for them, especially for the girls and for Josh too. Like he gets to see like this strong mom that's like not just like the mom who's like cooks and like takes him everywhere, but like who's like running with him and his friends and like really kind of destroying them at times, and like when I'm running with the team and I'm like, we're running 10 miles or 7 miles or whatever, and they're like tired and I'm like, come on. And then so things like that, it's kind of neat to show them that anything is possible.
It's pretty badass. And you're not like a young mom. Like you said, you were 40 when you had Elle.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't say that negatively. I just think that people can like view it like, oh, I didn't have my kids till I was this age and I'm tired and, all these things. And it's like, I just think your perspective on this is like so healthy. And honestly, because I'm a freak about age and I'm like already freaking out about turning 40, it's like very encouraging to me.
Yeah, no, I think that we can carve out our own path about like what we think about ourselves, how we view ourselves, and like, it paves the way for what we think we can and cannot do in life. I mean, I could have said, because if you really think about it, and it's like, when I was 45, I hadn't achieved a PR in the marathon yet. Like, I think so many people would say, I mean, come on, like, it's over for me. Like, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna, like, my fastest days are behind me. Like, I'm not gonna be able to run, And it's neat, too, because we're living in a world where that's slowly starting to go away.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, I'm peers now with people like Gabrielle Union and like Gwyneth Paltrow, and I say that in the sense that people know them, who are redefining what 49 looks like and how beautiful inside and out, and all the things that they're doing and accomplishing as an entrepreneur. And so I think when my mom was that age, 49 was old, was super old, and it was kind of like, oh, you should just like take care of your kids and like nurture them and like be kind of done. And now badass women are saying like, screw that. There's so much left that I can do and I'm going to do it.
Okay, what is something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
Write a book.
Ooh, do we know, like, can you spill a little bit about topic?
Yes, I think I have to, and I've talked about this a little bit, but so I am working on, and it's so funny with books. Sometimes you get really into it and then you have to shelve it for a little bit or things come up, but working on a children's book about running.
Okay.
And I got really into it and I was like, I'm going to make this happen. And I got stuck on the illustrator portion. So if anyone listening knows of or is an illustrator, I'm looking for not an animated type of illustrations, but very real life, like watercolor type of soft that can capture the magic of the West in California where I live, the mountains and the palm trees and all of that. so anyway, that's where I am. I'm looking for the right illustrator to work with, but it's going to be Josh is the protagonist, and it's just a beautiful story about a boy discovering long distance running in the mountains where we live.
Oh, I love it. I hope that you find the perfect illustrator. Maybe somebody listening. Why do I have tears in my eyes? This is ridiculous. Maybe somebody listening has a connection or knows someone that would be perfect for it. So I'm glad that you said that.
You're going to make me cry now. I can cry at the drop of a hat. It's like,
it's just so beautiful. I think that that's so cool to like, you're leaning into like your feelings on your son and his running and your community and where you live. And you have this idea, and it's like, it can be an idea or it can be what you are dreaming it to be.
Absolutely. And my birthday happened in December, and I was kind of like, this is my last year of my 40s, which felt very weird to say that out loud. And I'm saying it now on your show out loud. But I was kind of like, all right, let's kind of make some clear-cut goals here for this year. And I think one of those is to like, let's get this book off the ground and like either have it published or be close to like really moving forward in this year and feel like I've made some gains. So I'm putting it in the universe.
I love it. Okay. Who's someone fun, motivating, or inspiring to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
Okay. I knew you were going to ask this because I listened to your show. I love your show.
Thank you.
And, okay, there's so many people and every day it changes, but in the theme of Super Bowl Sunday that's coming, and it's in LA, and the whole city is like in an uproar about having Super Bowl. And I've already posted about this, but I'm going to say Mary J. Blige.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Isn't that a good one?
Are you more excited about the game or the halftime show?
So most years I would say definitely the halftime show. This year, because the Bengals are playing and I'm an Ohio native, playing my hometown, I'm really excited about both.
Okay. Well, so it's Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg, and Eminem. Right?
I think so. As soon as they said Mary J. Blige, everything else was like, shh. It's like, I don't know.
Well, the last time I saw Eminem perform, not in person, but like at an awards show, he just looked like very out of breath. Like, Eminem, go run a couple 5Ks, get some lifting going on here. So I'm wondering if because I imagine to rap on, like, you have to be like you got to have some energy, like the breathing.
Yeah, that's a whole like conditioning. You need to be in shape because you're like jumping around the stage, you're doing all this stuff, and to to have the rap lyrics in your mind and like pump up the crowd, like you need to be marathon training for that.
I'm excited to see like what this ends up being. I'm very excited. I don't even remember who performed last year. Was it Katy Perry?
Oh my gosh. What was the year that Shakira and J-Lo
and everybody
performed?
freaked out? Yeah. That was a couple years ago.
I just hope that they make it kid appropriate. Like, I don't want to sit there and then be like, oh my gosh, I don't want my kids to see this. Like,
well, I know. And I remember people like lashing out at people like me who were like, oh, maybe that was a little much with J-Lo and Shakira. But also, like, if you do have like a 10-year-old boy watching, and you're like, you wouldn't necessarily want them to watch that. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of, you do kind of look at it through a different lens. I kind of think, especially if you have little boys, like, do I want my 10-year-old boy to like look at a woman that way right now? I don't know,
And I'm super conservative on that front. So I'm a definite no.
Yeah.
I don't want them to see like some half naked woman with her booty shaking in their face. Like, I'm like, no. And I just feel like I get the Super Bowl, like it's all about like the ads and the money and all of that stuff. But I'm like, you guys know this is a family event. There's no way around it. Like, your kids are going to be with you. So just kind of like, come on.
I know. And I feel like people think I'm a prude, but I do remember thinking, ooh, that year.
Yeah. Cover the eyes.
I mean, I guess it's like, consider your audience, I guess is my thing. Consider the audience, and like basically anybody can watch that. It's on national, television.
Totally.
Okay. Which to some people might say, well, just don't let your kids watch it then. But, I get there's an argument for either way.
But really, how do you do that? Like because for us, it's like
you're all watching
a family
together
event. Yeah. Like we make like fun food, like so many people do. So it's kind of like, how do you tell your kids to like go in the other room? Like,
I know. Excuse me. You can't watch this right now. Okay. What is the best, most recent book you've read?
Ooh. And if you want me to send this to you, because I'm in the feeling sorry for everybody listening. It's Katie Couric's new book called Going There. And
she dishes, doesn't she?
She does dish, but I loved it because she talks about her whole life story and like how she got into journalism and just the barriers that she had to overcome as a woman then, and like everything from like working for the Today Show for so long and moving on, just so much. And I read it when we were on our trip during Christmas, New Year's. And I read it in like a day and a half. So it's like brand new. And I hate to just have it on my shelf. So if you want, I will send it to you.
It's Katie Couric Going There.
It was so good.
Okay. Really quick. You tell everybody like you worked in like voiceover work for a while.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. I feel like I haven't talked about that in a long time. So yes. To make a long story short, I got out of college and I was kind of like a little bit directionless because I decided not to go to law school, which is what I thought I was going to do. And then I was kind of standing there going, what am I going to do with this degree? And I'm not going to law school. So I ended up working in the entertainment industry, which probably every post-college grad does in LA. And I ended up working at ABC Entertainment on the network side in marketing and advertising for quite some years, which was such a great experience. I learned so much. I was there when we launched shows like Grey's Anatomy and Desperate Housewives, like during that time. And so it was really cool to be on that side of it, to like launch these shows and see them fail or succeed. Anyway, I quickly decided that I did not want to be a network executive. I didn't want to live that life. And I don't know, the whole Hollywood thing, I wasn't really into that. So then I was like, now what am I going to do? And I had done a little bit of voiceover as a kid. And so I went back to school. I went to UCLA Extension and I took some classes and it kind of started from there. And then I got an agent and started auditioning. And since, then I've done over 100 commercials. I've done one animated series and I loved it. I was definitely living that life though, like where I was still working at one point at ABC and like literally like leaving the office, rushing to an auditioning because voiceover doesn't matter what you look like. You didn't have to have a makeup or hair or whatever. Going in the booth, auditioning and like jumping in my car and going back to work. So I did that for a long time. And then I did it for a little while with kids. Like I would have a baby and I'd be in that booth with like a baby, like auditioning and all this stuff. And it was interesting. I mean, I definitely I definitely went through some interesting things with the industry. It was definitely a good experience for the most part. There was definitely some things that I felt like I got typecast for where they would bring me in for stuff because of how I looked, but I didn't necessarily sound what they were looking for, but they were like, oh, well, you look this way, so come in for this part. But I'm like, I'm not going to get this part because I don't sound like that, unfortunately. So we went through this.
That's terrible.
It was an interesting period because I actually went through this little period of time where I tried to change how I sounded naturally, how my voice normally sounds, just because I wanted to be able to compete for these parts. And it just wasn't working. Like I just didn't sound authentic. And I was like, I just want to be me. Like, this is how I sound. Like I've always sounded like this. And like, this is my voice. So what the great thing about voiceover is that you can play any role and it doesn't matter what you look like. So I went through that a little bit, and I kind of got a little discouraged and a little upset in the business a little bit. But it's changed so much now because you still have to go in to see an agent, but you can do so much from home, so much in your closet, and no one sees what you look like, and all of those things. So I don't know. I actually had an old agent friend call me and audition for a couple things like a month ago. And
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was like, maybe this is a sign. Maybe I should go back down that road. So we'll see.
If you had to pick like one part that you did that's like fun or cool or that you have great memory from, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I did a couple of commercials for Walt Disney World.
Okay.
For Disney. They were like national commercials for Disney. It was like the wonderful world of Disney. And it was like this little princess girl, and it was an animated something, and I had to do the voiceover for the little girl. And that was like so in my element. Like I love stuff like that. So I loved that. I did a bunch of McDonald's commercials, that was really fun. I really wanted to go the direction that I really wanted to go was animation. Like if I could pick anything, like I just wanted, my ultimate goal would be like, even if I just had a teeny part in an animated film or a series, that was my sub 3 hour marathon type of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I could so see your voice being in, like, we just watched Sing 2. Like, you could so be one of the characters on Sing 2. I love that movie so much. And I was just looking at, like, the names, like the people who are playing the characters. And some of them I had like, they're super famous. I had no idea that's who was playing, like Reese Witherspoon is one of the characters. I think she's the pig mom. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I can imagine that would be like the Super Bowl of voiceover or the sub 3 hour marathon of it.
Yes, for sure. It's an interesting industry because a lot of those celebrities are not trained voice actors, but they're actors, and they get the part because they are Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, for sure. Which
so
is kind of annoying.
Yeah, you're competing against that, but there's a lot of voiceover actors who are super successful in the industry that literally make their living off of all the supporting parts.
Uh-huh.
And the starring, role in an animated series on like Nickelodeon or something like that. So if you get blessed to have that, you're kind of set. I mean, and then of course, like the Simpsons cast, people like that, which is like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But,
you know all the nitty gritty of it. That's for sure. Yeah, I didn't even know Matthew McConaughey is like Buster Moon. And Glenn was like, how did you not know that Matthew McConaughey was Buster Moon? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't recognize his voice. And Buster Moon, do your kids watch Sing?
So we saw the first one. I can't wait to see Sing 2.
So good. It's so good. I'm waiting to buy it because right now you can only rent it, and it's like $25 to rent. And I'm like, no, I'm going to buy it. But we saw it in the theater. I took all 4 of the boys, and it was really good.
I can't wait.
Okay, what is your last message to leave with the audience today?
You're never too anything to be everything you ever wanted.
I love that. That's so good.
Yeah. Don't stand in your own way. Go live this gorgeous, beautiful life. And I know that sounds so like starry-eyed, but honestly, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, this is your chance, girl. Go do something good, because you're going to at one point look back and say, why didn't I take advantage of that? And if I fall on my face, so what? I just get up and start all over again. So just don't stand in your own way.
It's so good. Thank you, Nat.
Thank you, Lindsay. This has been such a blast.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. Thank you, Nat, for sharing your story. That was way too fun. You all can find everything we talked about in the show notes. When you go to sandyboyproductions.com and you click on the All Have Another tab, you can get signed up to join our newsletter, and I just email you the show notes every single week with links to the books, anything we talked about, so that can just be delivered to your inbox. That way, if you're out for a run or doing whatever, you don't have to stop and write something down if you want to make sure you remember it. So make sure you get signed up for our newsletter there. You can learn more about the show when you go to sandyboyproductions.com and look at the archives. We have over 360 episodes there. That's a brand new website that I'm really proud of, part of our podcast network here. I also host a parenting podcast called Why Is Everyone Yelling?, which I think I've said 25 times this morning already. Check that out at sandyboyproductions.com. You can find Nat on Instagram. She is Nat Runs Far. Don't forget to check out her podcast, Sweet Run. And you can find me personally on Instagram. I'm Lindsay Hine 626. We have a great Facebook group as well that we'd love to have you join us at. It's just called I'll Have Another Podcast in Groups. All right, friends, have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. And as always, I will see you next Friday.